if that's the kind of peace process which the British government is going to offer my community and the other nationalist communities across the north, is a peace process which we can well do without.
Appeals for calm from those like John Hume were ignored. A train was hijacked in nearby Lurgan and burned. There was another protest on the Lower Ormer Road in Belfast on another controversial parade route. It was just beginning when a gunman fired at police. He can be seen running away in the top left-hand corner of the picture. On the Garvahi Road this evening, hijacked cars were burning, a community outraged, and a peace process that was in deep trouble anyway, on the verge of collapse. Dennis Murray, BBC News, Belfast.
Talks aimed at preventing a 3-day strike by British Airways cabin crew have collapsed. The stoppage is now set to go ahead on Wednesday. The Transport and General Workers Union accused BA of desperately wanting a strike. The airline said the union was intent on confrontation. Our industry correspondent John Fryer reports.
British Airways has an elaborate contingency plan to keep planes flying, but half intercontinental services from Heathrow will be hit and European schedules face even worse disruption. BA expressed its deep frustration and regret that passengers will be severely inconvenienced.
Our focus is really trying to minimise the disruption for our customers. We will publish the programme, which will affect the 3 days beginning 6 a.m. on Wednesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this coming week. We will publish that in the newspapers with telephone numbers for passengers to contact.
Things had looked more promising earlier in the day when Bill Morris, the T&G leader, met Bob Ayling, the BA chief executive, for a TV interview. But subsequent talks over the cabin crew dispute came to nothing, with British Airways unwilling to negotiate over a new pay and conditions package, which the T&G says has been implemented without agreement.
Our indications are they had absolutely no intention of coming to any agreement with us. They wanted to pussyfoot around because they made a mistake when they said they would conciliate. They don't wish to conciliate. They got now to where they want to be in dispute, and they're trying to break us as a result of that.
The Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott was in Brighton today addressing the T&G conference on the eve of the first big dispute under the new Labour government. But there's no sign of government intervention in a dispute which British Airways says is a throwback to the 70s and which the union says is about a ruthless employer with no respect for workers' rights. John Fryer, BBC News, at the T&G conference in Brighton.
Scientists in America have been giving details of some of the early findings of the Pathfinder mission to Mars. At the moment, the planet is in darkness and the solar-powered rover Sojourner is at rest. But it'll begin its mission to examine the surface of the planet in earnest in a few hours' time.
Like rover, we have rover data. Yeah!
They thought yesterday was exciting. Today, the scientists were ecstatic as they watched a series of pictures showing the rover moving down the ramp and finally standing on the Martian surface. At a news conference this evening, they gave details of what they plan to do with the rover. Its first stop will be a rock close by they call Barnacle Bill because it looks very rough. There's a tabletop rock too they're keen to investigate. They've been analysing other pictures. The rocks are very different from those found by the Viking mission 21 years ago. The rounded ones show evidence of erosion by water. Their shape should tell scientists how much water flowed there billions of years ago. The angular rocks probably came from a nearby crater, blasted out when Mars was hit by an asteroid. The scientists also produced a complete panoramic view of the surface. They say the mission is outstandingly successful.
We have basically the perfect site, we have the perfect spacecraft, we have the perfect instruments, and we have the perfect rover, and now we're just more excited than you could possibly believe to go out there and start to investigate what's there.
It's now almost dawn on Mars. When the sun powers up rover's batteries in an hour or so, it will begin its exploration. James Wilkinson, BBC News.
One of Cambodia's joint prime ministers, Hun Sen, has made a radio broadcast claiming that he's ousted his rival in the coalition government. The broadcast followed a second day of heavy fighting in the capital Phnom Penh, but there's been no confirmation of the claim. During the day, thousands of people clogged the city's exit roads, but they tried to flee the fighting. At least 12 were reported to have been killed and more than 50 injured. Pete Sampras has won the men's singles final at Wimbledon. It took him 94 minutes to beat the unseeded Frenchman Cédric Pioline in straight sets. It's the fourth time the world number one has claimed the Wimbledon singles title.
Cédric Pioline, unseeded and 100-1 outsider before Wimbledon started, did well to make it onto the same court as Pete Sampras. But having got there, he just couldn't live with him. The top seed and world number one was in devastating form and broke the Frenchman's serve in the third game for a decisive advantage in the opening set. Pioline, by contrast, was able to mount little defence against the Sampras bombshells, and the three-times champion lost just 4 points on his serve in the whole of the first set. Rallies were as rare as the sunshine over the past fortnight, and although Pioline did give the occasional reminder of what a talented grass-court player he is, the Sampras steamroller was never halted. The first set went to Sampras in 37 minutes, and from then on, the final became a disappointingly one-sided affair. Pioline lost his service twice in the second set as the combination of power and precision from Sampras began to overwhelm him. The Sampras serve wasn't threatened until the 8th game of the third set, Pioline's fine return getting him to break point. But the door was quickly slammed shut, and after little more than an hour and a half, Sampras was poised for the kill. Fittingly, it came with another unreturnable serve, and Pete Sampras had his 10th Grand Slam title.
A lot of people, especially in the media, have been asking about the record, which is 12, and I'm one step closer. And that, I feel like if I continue to play well and stay healthy, that it's something I can do is break the record. And Wimbledon is always a favorite of mine, and I'm looking forward to coming back next year.
Sampras joins Rod Laver with 4 Wimbledon championships and has just Bjorn Borg to beat in the modern era. At the age of 25, the only challenge ahead is the undisputed title of greatest player of all time. Neil Bennett, BBC News, Wimbledon.
And Australia are heading for victory in the third test at Old Trafford. The tourists declared on 395 for 8, setting England a target of 469 for victory. In reply, England are struggling. The captain, Mike Atherton, was dismissed for 21 by Jason Gillespie. At close of play, England are 130 for 5, still 339 runs behind, with just 5 wickets in hand. And the main news again. There have been violent attacks by nationalists on police and troops after the Drum Cree Orangemen were allowed to march. That's all from the BBC Newsroom tonight. Good night.
One year ago, the world shook with the tragedy of TWA Flight 800.
It was just a horrific, horrific scene.
But rumours of terrorism soon turned to whispers of a government cover-up.
They killed those 230 people by making a mistake.
Crash investigators believe they now know the truth, and although the odds are low, they say it could happen again.
Whatever occurred in the TWA 800 situation could indeed occur again.
But while the airline industry considers its next move, consider this. Thousands of aircraft are potentially at risk. Panorama, tomorrow at 10 on BBC One.
Good evening. We've had a fine summer's day over virtually all of the country. Very sunny down over South Wales, for example. A little bit more cloud in the east at times, but 1 or 2 isolated showers here in eastern England later in the day. And we've seen this rain pushing eastwards across Northern Ireland and Scotland too. As for tonight, it's really the north of Northern Ireland and some of these western parts of Scotland that will keep some rain. May even dry up a touch in the far north, and many southern parts of Britain will be fairly fine. A little bit of low cloud and mist in the west and 1 or 2 patches inland on what will be, for many of us, a really warm and quite humid night. Tomorrow morning, the duller, damper weather around the Irish Sea up through western Scotland, giving some drizzle. Maybe a few heavier bursts of rain heading northwards up across western Scotland during the afternoon too, but it'll by then be brightening up across the east of Northern Ireland, southern and eastern Scotland. In England and Wales, fine, dry and sunny, just an outside chance of 1 or 2 showers, but mostly fine and sunny, which does mean that it's going to be in England and Wales, we'll see the warmest of the weather, just as warm if not a little bit warmer than today, with some cooling sea breezes for the coast. Northern Ireland and Scotland about the same as today. In eastern Scotland, temperatures just a couple of degrees lower. That's how it looks for me for now. Bye-bye.
Oh, man. Has Andy gone too far?
You breathalyzed this man yet, officer?
Tough questions.
No loss is a copper. Can't have a little drink if he's off duty.
Well, as long as he's not driving.
New partners.
Come on, let's solve this case before he sobers up.
That should give us a few weeks, sir.
Divided loyalties.
You want me to investigate my boss?
I wasn't bad.
New friends.
Oi! You got style, that day.
Changing times for DL and Pascoe. Saturday at 8:05 on BBC One.
This is BBC One, remembering the television event which captivated the nation and made a sex symbol of Colin Firth. Sparks fly amid the social niceties of the 19th century, as over the next 3 Sundays we revisit the BBC's award-winning adaptation of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.